Welcome back. This is the next installment. Last time we talked about starting with vision, the first step in creativity. This second step, it follows up on that. So we're tying this in, is to build out the vision. We just wanted to give you a warning that it's a little bit longer than the last one. So please stick with us. Dr. Koji Samijima. He became an OB or birthing doctor in a country with a declining population. That's like becoming a blacksmith after automobiles are invented. I flew to Japan where I met Dr. Samijima in the cafeteria of his hospital. Many years ago, Dr. Samijima wanted to become an OB, but he wanted to do much more. He wanted to increase choices for women. Japan has a somewhat unique system. The birth control pill was not legalized until the late 1990s. Physicians successfully lobbied the government and prevented pill imports for decades. They wanted to preserve demand for abortion, their most profitable procedure. Maybe you support abortion as a birth control option, but wouldn't more choices be better anyway? Eventually, sale of the pill was allowed, but Samajima felt women deserved an additional option, and during that time, infertility rates were soaring. He then began visioning. He created a vision. He imagined a world where every couple who wanted a baby could have one. He imagined a world with more choices for women with unwanted pregnancies. Why not adoption? Many people thought it was weird. Adoption is common in many countries, but in Japan, very few people adopted babies from strangers. So Samajima began educating women about his third option. But adoption ran counter to the culture. People believed women can bond only through suffering childbirth. Nobody responded to Samijima. The culture was closed to his idea. The years of strain are obvious in Samijima's face. He has been swimming upstream since he entered medical school, wondering how to pay tuition. Yet his countenance emanates pure kindness. I've never seen anyone who exudes such inner peace. Seriously, he's one of the best people I've ever met in my life. Despite his failures, Samijima remained true to his vision. He let his ideas percolate for a while. He contacted his classmates from medical school throughout the country. He asked them to refer women who had passed the legal limit for termination. Eventually, a few responded. Samijima and his wife counseled with the anxious women. Many were teenaged girls. The good doctor and his wife began traveling throughout the country to meet women with unwanted pregnancies. They sometimes brought home tiny babies wrapped in new quilts. Traveling throughout the country on bullet trains, they cared for the babies. They placed the babies with waiting parents, about two per year. The new parents would move to new neighborhoods where no one knew them to keep their adoption secret. But Samijima couldn't gain traction. After 4 years, he had only placed a few babies. Then something clicked suddenly. Suddenly, the adoption waitlist was 10 years long. The available baby number wasn't sufficient. Samijima continued to dream about a world with more reproductive choices for women. He continued to dream of a world where every woman could have a baby if she wanted one. Resistance from other doctors and the community identified a core problem: mother baby bonding. If that was the main barrier, he would attack it. He decided he needed two things: first, his own hospital, and secondly, a national organization, some sort of society to share information about adoption. This is his clinic, the hospital that I went to visit him at. It's his canvas, the canvas for his clinic. He built a hospital in his mind. Then it became a reality, the Samijima Bonding Clinic. They deliver 1,000 babies per year, and every year that means 1,000 women have a superior birthing experience. At the hospital, aromatherapy massage experts relieve postpartum stress. Nurses serve raspberry tea on demand because of claims that it helps milk production. They offer a restaurant and a free shuttle to the nearest station. Adjoining the facility is a children's clinic based on the same bonding philosophy. The hospital provides on site daycare for employees, of course. He's now building another facility across the parking lot. He will offer cooking classes for new mothers and a play therapy facility for children with autism. Samijima also achieved the other half of his vision. He and his wife created a national organization to share adoption information. Adopting children is becoming accepted. Long before his baby bonding plan, the Samijima family lived in a Tokyo suburb. Their house burned to the ground and they needed a new situation. At the same time, a doctor in another city suffered a heart attack. He needed help with his patient load for a few months. After helping for a few months, Samijima became permanent. So the family left the ashes of their former life and moved north. We could call Samijima a social entrepreneur. His vision was to increase reproductive choices for women. But his vision could have involved poverty or traffic safety or refugee relocation. Dr. Samijima truly is an artist. For a man who helped change a 2,000-year culture, he's surprisingly down to earth. I would call him self-effacing. He feels his success came from the worthiness of the project, not his own hard work or charisma. I asked him about his own personal barriers. What barrier was the impetus to realize the vision? After some thought, he mentioned the house fire and his struggles to pay tuition in medical school. But tradition was probably the barrier. It seemed impossible to overcome. But as with others I met for this research, Samijima compensated for the barrier. That story was a bit long. Yeah, I agree. But here are some of the story's principles. First, inspiration can come step by step. Secondly, inspiration can arise from tragedy or misfortune. And thirdly, implementing a vision can be a crooked road as new opportunities rise. Each viewer here has a different creative field. Your creative project could send a message through traditional art like watercolor painting or music, or it could be a business venture that directly addresses some social need. For all art, you create a vision, then you build it. To build out the vision, use your imagination. You can let your imagination run wild, or you can let it follow a structure. Step one, you find a purpose. So you have a purpose. You imagine a specific situation you want to see in the world. This is demand-led creativity that we talked about before. You see a problem that demands a situation, and you develop the solution. Dr. Samijima's original canvas was the birthing room, but he expanded it. He envisioned a better experience from pregnancy through early child rearing. He also rethought the purpose of his canvas. He used it as a force for social change. Do you want to alert people to the human trafficking crisis? Do you want to teach tourists about the beauty of your town? Do you want to create a city where traffic jams never occur? Then address that issue with your art. You can try searching now. Write down 3 big problems that need solving. Big means a problem that affects more than a few people. Some examples on the next slide can help you access your own mental database. Uh, Examples can help you discover your art's purpose. Loneliness, parking inefficiency, infirmity from old age, the pension crisis. Populations in industrialized countries are rising rapidly, the aging populations. Dangerous weather conditions, lack of part-time jobs for students in your community, a shortage of small apartments, urban poverty, rural poverty, which is like urban poverty, except it gets ignored. Step 2, after you've chosen that problem that you want to focus on, use your imagination. Imagine a new world where the big problem doesn't exist. Through creative altruism, you choose a problem. Next, you decide what ought to be. Then you figure out a way to get to that place. Step three, describe that world. That's what Václav Havel did. He lived in a world of oppression. He served multiple prison terms for thinking differently. Some of his associates had been tortured to death. He imagined a world full of liberty. And he said, we must not be afraid of dreaming the seemingly impossible if we want the seemingly impossible to become reality. In step three, you take your vision and describe your new world in detail. Maybe you haven't decided which medium you'll use to create, but this three-step exercise can still be useful. Imagine a world where mosquitoes don't bite us, but we don't kill them because they're part of the ecosystem, and we don't cover our skin with chemicals. So I think maybe decoys could lure mosquitoes away. So I teach myself to build mosquito decoys, or I borrow someone else's building skills. The Graham method is named for Paul Graham. Imagine what the future should look like, then create a way to get there. First, ask yourself, how will life be better in the future? Will there be flying cars? Will we have no disease? And you describe that future in detail. Then do what Paul Graham recommends, which is live in the future, then build what's missing. So pretend that you're already in that marvelous future and figure out what they have that we don't have and build it now. Graham's recommendation is like Etzione's adaptive reality testing for Module 4. The difference is that you predict the new reality before it becomes reality. It requires a stronger creative muscle. Momofuku Ando was worried about Japan after the war, to cite another Japanese example. People were working long hours to rebuild from the bombed rubble, and they were hungry. So Ando's vision was some sort of cheap food with enough calories for people to work hard. He invented instant ramen in this shack. And I actually went and saw it. This shack is now inside of a museum. So let's review. First, you find a big purpose, a big problem. Use your imagination to say, what if that problem didn't exist? And third, you find a way to get to the place where the problem doesn't exist. Do this and you'll create a winning idea. So I challenge you to take some personal action. Vision without effort is daydreaming. Dreamers can dream to avoid achievement. They never ship, they never produce. Hopefully, this course doesn't remain a way to just satisfy your curiosity. So, at this point, I recommend you stop reading, stop listening, and take some action, even in some very small way. Choose an intriguing problem you would like to creatively solve. If that is too hard, then prove you can then prove you can ignore embarrassment. Uh, Sing loudly in public. Meet me back here tomorrow for the next module.